today's episode. Fantastic. I think we did there. Well, each episode is inspired by the newsweek articles with the exploration into journey sweep into a rabbit hole or many rabbit holes.
This week's show, which drops tonight at 8:30 Eastern online and then airs on Wilbur TV at 10:30 Eastern Time, centers around risk. It features Lamoree, a longtime media executive and until recently a managing director at Goldman. She's got a memoir out now about her experience coming out as transgender in one of the most high-profile financial institutions in America. Here's more from tonight's episode of the Business Week Show.
Yeah. You got, I think, literal bouquets from traders at Goldman. I think you got like these very warm notes from people. I think you got phone calls. Yeah. Those were from traders, and they were not from investment bankers. And you write in the book, clarity, investment bankers were quiet. So surprised by that. What? Can you explain that? Why did that happen?
I think probably some of my relationships with investment bankers were shallower than I thought. And I think investment bankers are very good at having really expansive relationships kind of across a wide group of people. But, you know, maybe some of those relationships aren't as deep as they were here.
I love that you're using investment bankers with a lot of stuff. I think kind of universal shallowness.
I'm not sure I said it exactly.
Love that as well. Of course, that is our Max Ableton, excuse me. Of course, Bloomberg News, Max Ableton.
You got a lot of that.
I was sorry. That was the Business Week Show there with Maeve DeValley. It is Business Week Show. It's centering on risk. Max Ableton, of course it's Max Ableton. What a great conversation, and it's really funny to hear like the reaction, or not so funny, right?
The business is so friendly that I participated during a little conversation that was made in Raleigh, which I love doing in person and it's fun to listen to. And tonight, actually, it's still so new, Carol. It's only the second episode ever. So we're really hoping if you're listening or watching out there tonight, please tune in. Risk is a difficult thing to talk about because if you take a risk and it doesn't work out, you might not want to think too hard and pull over and wrong.
But in so much of your life, Max, as a finance reporter, risk means something different. Risk means taking a risk when it comes to an investment. It means taking a chance on something that could have high reward, but also has high risk. Not necessarily how you approach it in this program.
That's exactly right. I mean, listen, we try to do that because it's such an important part of what we talk about here at Wilbur.
Right.
So, really fun if you achieve to see that quality that players out there talking about taking risk in the market with Transform and how actual risk has changed. People did not go out and YOLO their life savings on options, but he was the driving force that was helping to change that. And then of course he took his own risk and ended up kind of losing. Reddit kicked him off as moderator. He sued Reddit as well. So the combination of taking financial risk, taking personal risk, taking professional risk, came together so very satisfying way.
It's really fascinating because you're right. Like risk in the financial community on Wall Street brings this huge reward. You make your kind of legacy. Yes, we have honor. Like we made this, bring this big bet during whether or financial crisis or exactly live that legacy, and it puts them off in tremendous wealth and success. And yet, you take the wrong bet, you take on the wrong risk, and you can be destroyed personally, but professionally.
So true. And that is one reason why I'm really excited to kind of embark on this first season. It's going to run on Thursdays for the rest of your practice because we've got episodes on sort of the really fun cousins and almost sort of mirror images of risk. We've got an episode coming up on ambition. We've got an episode coming up on which is another failure.
Yeah.
And, I find that it's been really fun as a journalist to think about kind of these first order questions, what does it mean to take risks and fail? What does it mean to take risks and succeed? And then what happens when you want to do something completely new? And what happens when it overshadows everything else we've ever done? What happens when you look back on risk and you feel like I'm terrified or shaky, So I think we're talking about the things, but it's really fun. I agree with my three guests. So if you down with it, try to How do you look at that?
When I first started talking to you, okay, so I'm going to do this. And I'm just curious, like, kind of, one of the things you were talking about with Wilbur, the editor of the Newsweek magazine, is just like, okay, so how did this story come to be? And sometimes it's something that comes on his radar, sometimes it was something on the reporter's radar. But that initial determination of, okay, we're going to do an episode on risk. Curious about what you guys are thinking about.
Well, it's been a really satisfying process because I've got this wonderful team, including my producer and director, here, which is wonderful. Wilbur and Kristen, the magazine, and then the folks on the original side and the people in the newsroom who are helping. What we try to do is stay true to what Business Week is and what Business Week stories are. So the honest answer is we went looking through the magazine, thinking like, what are the themes that are kind of below the surface, that are subtext, and how do we take them from below the surface and then bring those themes into the light of day? And so we spent some time, just like honestly, reading about journalism and talking about like what are the difficult and interesting and rich themes that are kind of pulsing below the surface. And that's how we ended up. That's how we landed on risk and some of these others.
There's been some really cool promos about this, and one of my favorites has been Max, the sort of behind the scenes of the studio, where you talk about what went into building this experience, and a lot of it actually has Max Ableton in it.
That is so sweet that you say that. I mean, there are really two modes that I feel like are really fun. Right now, for people who aren't watching, we're in this like very beautiful, high-tech, like very well lit. This is kind of what I imagine like a spaceship in, maybe 125 years will look like. And it's a technological kind of pleasure of being here. Then we went kind of in the other direction, and we built what feels like, I don't know, it's almost like 1978, sort of eccentric newspaper editors, like small office, and they were very generous. First of all, they carpentered the space. Essentially, I basically had nothing to do with it, you guys. But they were warmly allowed me to bring my little pieces of art. I have a little fake can of seltzer and a fake can of Celery soda, every old Jewish guy's favorite soda. I have a really oversized coin. I have a wonderful fake used handkerchief from Museum, my favorite museum. They really let me make it my own in a very moving way.
Well, and every story you do, you make your own and really just tell it in an incredible way. Max Ableton, we have the Business Week show. It is tonight at 8:30 p.m.
Now, your 3-day weather forecast on Bloomberg 960.
Weather report tonight around the Bay Area, generally clear, low temperature mid-50s to mid-60s, and it's mostly sunny and cooler on Friday, low to mid-70s for the Bay, but 75 to 85 inland, not quite as warm. Cloudy skies on Saturday in the 60s, and mostly cloudy on Sunday, and a chance of showers, high temperature again, mostly sitting in the 60s. This is meteorologist Gary Best, here with your weekend weather forecast on Bloomberg 960.
Breaking news first. War in the Middle East.
President Biden's trip to the region did little to ease fears of a wider war beyond Hamas.
Biden met with reporters and says there is movement on getting aid into Gaza.
You have so much going on every night in terms of bombardment and military activity.
We're seeing a parade of leaders into the region.
There are really no easy solutions to this. The latest headlines of the Israel-Hamas war. Stay with Bloomberg 960. Context changes everything.
The Wheel, a big idea that's inspired countless new ones. From the horse-drawn carriage to a rover on Mars. 30 years ago, State Street launched the Spider S&P 500 ETS, SPY, a big idea that inspired the world to invest differently, and still does. What can you do with SPY?
Before investing, consider funds, investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses. Visit ssga.com for a prospectus containing read it carefully before investing. SPY is subject to risk similar to those with stocks. All ETFs are subject to risk, including possible loss of principal. Alps distributors and distributors.
On October 24th, join top technology leaders, business executives, innovators, and entrepreneurs in London for the Bloomberg Technology Summit. How can unprecedented digitization help solve global challenges? Speakers from Graphcore, Siemens, Deliveroo, and Abba Voyage will explore advance of AI and green technology and delve into the escalation of cyber warfare and more. Learn more at BloombergLive.com/Tech Summit 2023.
Pop culture is something that touches everyone. How we fill our leisure time and how we enjoy ourselves, particularly when you're talking about the famous people and big personalities in entertainment and tech. There tends to be a need to sensationalize, but what I enjoy is explaining to people how the things that they love get made, come to be, and how people make money off of it.
I'm Lucas Shaw, and I cover the business of pop culture for Bloomberg. My job is to uncover how entertainment changes and explain what that means to you. Because context changes everything.
Bridge Bank knows the ins and outs of business ups and downs by providing flexible financial solutions to business owners of small to mid-sized companies across a variety of industries throughout the Bay Area. Bridge Bank is deeply rooted in the business community and part of a network of professional service providers, business managers, trusted advisors, and entrepreneurs. Visit bridgebank.com. Be bold. Venture wide. Bridge Bank, with the West Carolina Bank and Banking Institute.
Blackstone is reporting a 12% decline in quarterly profits available to shareholders as it grapples with higher interest rates and the sting of a pullback in deal making. Distributable earnings for the third quarter totaled $1.21 billion, or 94 cents a share, missing the $1 average estimate of analysts surveyed by Bloomberg. That was roughly in line with Blackstone's second quarter profit, which is the lowest in 2 years. The firm oversees more than $1 trillion. It is the first of a coming string of major U.S. alternative asset managers to report third quarter results. Ann Case, Bloomberg Radio.
All right, thank you, Ann. And Blackstone shares down about 8% today. And more people are prepping for flood, fire, or other urgent situations by buying supplies to get them through. Surveys and rising sales of prefabricated disaster kits indicate Americans are more likely to keep emergency supplies on hand than they were a few years ago. You know, roughly a third of those surveyed by the financial services company Finder said they spent an average of $149 on items like non-perishable medical supplies and cases of water in the past year. That's up 20% from 2020. These tells you Bloomberg Radio.
This is Bloomberg Business Week with Carol Messer and Jim Stenevec on Bloomberg Radio.
It's Bloomberg Business Week. Carol Messer and Jim Stenevec live in the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers studio in New York. Let's go back and minute for the national news. Again, here's the Bloomberg 99 News from in Washington, D.C.
President Biden will be addressing the nation tonight at 8 p.m. Wall Street time. He'll be outlining the need for U.S. support of Israel and Ukraine as they continue to fight. During a trip to Israel yesterday, Biden struck a deal with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to allow trucks loaded with humanitarian supplies to enter Gaza from Egypt. State Department's Matthew Miller says Israel is worried that aid could be grabbed by Hamas.
We think that's a legitimate concern. We made clear that the aid needs to go to civilians and not costs. We're going to be watching very carefully how it's delivered.
Miller says it's hoped they'll be able to start those deliveries as early as tomorrow. A new poll is out in the 2024 presidential race from Bloomberg News and Morning Consult. It points to a challenge ahead for President Biden in a head-to-head matchup with former President Trump. Eli Yoakley is the U.S. policy analyst at Morning Consult.
He's underwater in Arizona and in Georgia and in Wisconsin. These states were so important to his victory in 2020, and right now he's losing a lot of people there.
Morning Consult's Eli Yoakley tells Bloomberg Sound On President Biden is also underwater on most issues and is failing to inspire enthusiasm among those who've supported him in the past. Sidney Powell, the one-time attorney who helped former President Trump with legal challenges following the 2020 presidential election, has pleaded guilty in Georgia. Judge Scott McAfee asked Powell if she understood the plea deal she's entered into with prosecutors.
Are you pleading guilty today because you agree that there is a sufficient factual basis, that there are enough facts to support this plea of guilty?
I did. Powell was one of 19 defendants who faced racketeering charges in Fulton County, Georgia. And according to the plea deal, Powell is going to testify at trial. The trial was set to begin tomorrow. Global News 24 24 hours a day and whenever you want it. Bloomberg News, I'm Nancy Lyon. This is Bloomberg. Now back to you, Ken and Carol. All right, Nancy, thank you so much. Nancy Lyon in our DC Bureau. Carol Master along with Tim Stenovich, live in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker Studio on YouTube and, of course, on Bloomberg every day. Why are you smiling?
I'm smiling because I've got a New York City real estate.
You just inhaled a bag of popcorn and
I did a yogurt too.
a cup of yogurt.
But who's keeping track of what I eat? It's a 3-hour show. We got to.
Just watching it. You too. Bloomberg Originals.
Yeah. Sometimes the.
You get a little hungry, you know?
How the sausage is made.
3 hours.
That's how it goes. Hey, Jennifer Epstein's got a great story out about rising costs for homeowners here in New York City.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
Okay, so no one ever said living in New York City is cheap, but surging expenses in recent years are threatening to squeeze homeowners even more. When we say homeowners, we're talking about co-op owners and condo owners. One thing that's unique about New York is that the homeowners association fees can be incredibly high because maybe you have a door person.
Like another mortgage payment.
Oh,
It's great,
absolutely.
Right? It's great.
So these fees that are paid to co-op and condo boards soar almost 3 times faster than the rate of inflation, Carol.
Yeah. Even, you're right, you say it's like... housing costs, and yet people live here.
They do, and I just gotta say, not to toot my own horn, but I was on the board of my condo for 5 years. I was on the board for a few years.
You were one of those, huh?
Yeah, well, to try to keep costs down. Our condo fees only went up by about $200 over that 5-year period.
That's great.
I will
That's
tell you,
when it costs nothing.
the insurance costs are legit. I mean,
I sent you a story.
yeah, the insurance. I know the story.
I think it was that Florida, like where people are just dropping their insurance as soon as they paid off their mortgage because they cannot afford it.
Because you can't have a mortgage and not have insurance.
Correct.
That's the thing. The insurance cost here has gone up so much. That's what's really hitting a lot of these co-op and condo boards.
I don't know how you do it.
You gotta pass those on to the people who live there.
I mean, and then you talk about, squeezing out people in different part of the income curve, if you will, because they can't afford this stuff, because they end up having a city that's maybe not as rich, I would say. They need diversity. All right, don't go anywhere, folks. We got lots more to come on this Thursday. Carol Masterson, Stenovich, we are Bloomberg Radio.
24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com and the Bloomberg Business app. This is KNEW Oakland, KOSF 103.7 FM, HD2 San Francisco. This is Bloomberg Business Week. Insight from the reporters and editors who bring you America's most trusted business magazine. Plus, global business, finance, and tech news as it happens. Bloomberg Business Week with Carol Matter and Tim Stenovich on Bloomberg Radio.
Bloomberg Business Week continuing on this Thursday, live in our Interactive Brokers studio here at Bloomberg headquarters. We are streaming on YouTube. We are on Bloomberg Originals. Coming up this hour, Jay Powell has on our minds today, big time following his comments toward David West. If you missed right through and the video, it's at Bloomberg.com. It's on the Bloomberg terminal. Highly recommend because his comments definitely with the market several times today. But as we talk about the Fed, we're going to get into how the price of money is going up, and Tim, it's not because of the Fed necessarily.
It's not. Story Bloomberg this week dives into that. We're going to be speaking with one of the authors of that piece in just a minute. Plus, millions of Americans between work and caring for their parents, it is costing a lot of money.
Yeah, it's really tricky. Also, going to be with us, Sadiqa. She's got her Forward Space. She has an interesting take on kind of working out, wellness, fitness. We're going to get into the business, how she grows it, her investors, kind of where she goes from here, and competing in what many would say is a very, very crowded space. If her name sounds familiar, that's a good reason why.
And I'm really looking forward to that. First, though, a check on today's trade and top business stories. Here's Denise Pellegrini in for Charlie Fowler. Thank you.
Hey there, and we do check the markets for you all day long at Wilbur. 501 on Wall Street now. Yeah, time on Jay Powell's speech at the Economic Club. Briefly interrupted by climate protesters today, but after the room was cleared of those protesters, the Fed chair indicated geopolitics, including the war between Israel and Hamas, could weigh on the economy.
Geopolitical tensions are highly elevated and pose significant economic effects.
Next time, the Fed chair also said we could still see higher for longer on the interest rate hike.
We have models for everything. We have one for everything. even taking lags into account, what's it telling us? Does it feel like the policy is too tight right now? I would have to say no. I think the evidence is not that the policy is too tight right now.
And Powell also telling the Economic Club and our David Weston in a fireside chat today that the Fed is still focused on long-term price stability. The yield on the 10-year creeping higher as Powell spoke. We heard it all live here on Bloomberg Radio, and right now the 10-year yield sitting at 4.99%. We did have a lower close for stocks. The Dow down 0.8%, 251 points lower. S&P 500 down 0.8%, down 37. The Nasdaq down just about 1%, down 128 points. Shares of HC Enterprise down more than 6% right now. Company forecasting adjusted earnings that missed the average analyst estimate. Israel's A1 rating may be cut by Moody's. They warned that they might do this. Now they're putting that rating on watch, citing the protracted nature of the conflict between Hamas and Israel. And of course, we're watching this very closely, guys. After Powell's comments today, we do have that FOMC meeting. It's a two-day meeting. It starts October 31st. So now we're all wondering, are they going to dress up as hawks or as
Spooky.
Oh, that's interesting. What do you think they're going to do?
I don't know. I think they'll go neutral. Maybe dress as a pumpkin or a jack-o'-lantern or something. You don't want to give the market the wrong idea, Carol.
Maybe they'll dress as Taylor Swift. Or that they'll just the two big costumes this year.
That's a good one.
You're like the pen. You're the pen. All right, Denise Pellegrini covers. All right, this is Wilbur. What do you think for ABBA in the halls of the Federal Reserve? What do you think?
Good choice, Paul Brennan.
Money. What's the most important price in the global economy? Well, the price of a barrel of crude, a microchip, or maybe a Big Mac?
I think a big
I don't know. No. Considering that song.
Well, I think more important than the price of any of those things, Carol, is actually the price of money. And what three decades is falling now, so like how look at what the 10-year treasury yield is today. And look at the hair at the 5%. At the highest of 2007. That is more.
Yeah, it's a different cost of money, that's for sure. And so, in this cast, he writes about this, Tom Orlick and Company, in the news of Bloomberg Business Week, which is on newsstand, already online at Bloomberg.com/businessweek, and of course on the Bloomberg Terminal. Tom, by the way, joining us on the phone from Washington, D.C., the chief economist for Bloomberg Economics. So good to have you here, Tom. The price of money is going up. It does feel like a very, very different paradigm. Let's go back in the last 10 years or so. None of them come to that did it. It felt like, okay.
It's really interesting how having the competition with Bloomberg being drafted. And of course, each day is the Federal Reserve calling the shots on interest rates and driving government bond yields. But there's also something more fundamental going on. The price of money, like the price of the semiconductor, like the price of Big Mac, is set by the balance of supply and demand. Supply is needed and demand for investment. And for much of the last 30 years, a huge driver of global interest rates and interest rates in the US has been that the supply of easing has been going up. Easy boomers, accumulate money for retirement, China saving money and investing in US treasuries, and investment has not been very strong. And that's one of the reasons we have a long-term down trend in interest rates. So what we do in this piece today, running in Business Week, is we take a look at those drivers, and what we find is, you know what? That trend which has been dragging interest rates down for the last decade seems to have come to an end. We're already seeing that with the 10-year yield now pushing close to 5%. And the case we make is that the drivers of higher borrowing, the drivers of higher prices